is happening, Flip Flop fam? I'm super excited to have Jeremy here, but for people who don't know, Jeremy, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Name's Jeremy Melancon, founder of Turnkey Custom Homes in Huntsville, Texas. I met my wife while I was on a rodeo scholarship at Sam Houston. Rodeoed professionally as a saddle bronc rider for almost a decade. When that chapter closed, needed a job and had never had one. So when you rodeo, you travel quite a bit. You're gonna leave every weekend pretty much when the slow season, and then when it really kicks off, you leave about June and come back in September. So you're not a really popular hire, right? So we
So you,
started developing a rental complex for rodeo athletes to live and train with their horses. And then during that time, our community showed up and showed me that they needed another builder. So we've been a custom home builder for about 8 years now. We've got a team and business that provides for our families, and I have time to coach my son's little league team. So life's pretty great, man.
yeah, exactly what we're all after, man. I mean, and just without putting actual numbers to it, you've far eclipsed what the average custom home builder does in terms of revenue, but that's what I love to hear is that you still have the time to spend with the family because that's what we're all after, right?
Yeah, that's the hard part.
I was when you were telling your intro there, I was thinking, man, he left rodeo riding and went to do something hard, building houses.
That's it. Well, rodeo kind of kicks you out at some point, right? Like you can't ride bucking horses forever.
That's it. What do you think? What do you think you took from the rodeo experience? And I ask this of all kinds of different athletes that has helped you in your building career.
Man, really, I think the biggest thing that has helped me, it took me a while to put this together, but when you're competing in rodeo, it's one on one, right? Like it's you're at a rodeo, you're competing with all the other contestants there. You pay your own entry fees, you pay your own travel, and then you win purses if you win. You're not in control of the horse that you draw. It's a random draw. So really, you're partnering with the horse to make the best ride. But it's kind of like I'm not a golfer, but I've heard golfers say that they're playing the course. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Not the other folks. So like if I make a terrible ride, I'm not looking to win on a terrible ride. So I'm not necessarily looking to win because you did bad. I'm looking to win because I did really well. And rodeo, like you ask other guys about these horses, right? Like maybe you've never ridden this horse, you've never drawn this horse. You call a guy that had it last week and you say, hey, what's the measurement on the rein? Which is like a really important part of riding bucking horses successfully, which is a judged event. Everyone shares information. There's very few um there's very few instances where someone like will sabotage you or tell you a bad rain or something like that. Like it's just not something that happens. And so then when I went into business, it was natural to go in with an abundant mentality instead of a scarcity mentality. And I didn't realize how scarce that was, for lack of a better term. So that's probably the one thing that helped me the most was, man, we were all in there. It was a dangerous event, right? You'd never want to be responsible for someone else getting hurt because you gave them bad information or something like that. And it's a lot like that I found in business.
yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we were talking about this last week or not, but you see that meme all the time that says, the people at the top are all collaborating. They understand that there's plenty to go around and the people at the bottom are just tearing each other apart and not none of them are getting ahead.
Absolutely.
I when I was actively building, I was in Charlotte and there was a group of four or five of us that would meet at least once a week for lunch. And sometimes we were bidding projects against each other, sometimes we weren't, but we all shared information. We were all better because of it. We all had better businesses because of it. And it's like you said, it's just that abundance mindset.
Yeah.
So tell me about a lot of builders, I work with guys all over the country, and there's this sticking point. I know you've seen it too, where they get to that $2-3 million level typically, and they just kind of stall out. They can't get any bigger. And typically it's because they have trouble delegating. They never built a team in the first place. And at that 2 to 3 million is when they're spending 50, 60 hours a week cleaning up the mess every week. And it just doesn't allow them to grow. How did you eclipse that? Like what was the quote unquote secret to your success there?
Yeah, it seems like when the revenue goes up, then you're going to be able to build a team, and it's completely the opposite. You can't get your revenue to grow without a team. I think it was on one of your episodes that I was listening to. Someone said money comes from people, so you got to get really good with people, right? And that was a huge takeaway for me listening to that episode, because that's the truth of it. The We all jump out there and hire someone pretty quickly. It seems like that's a common thread, and I work with multiple builders, but I work with a lot of trades, right? And they're business people as well. So when you're building a house, you're working with 60 different small businesses, and a whole lot of them have had crews in the past, right? You'll talk to a one man operator that's 70 years old. He's like, "Oh, I had all the people back in the day. It's easier to do everything on my own," right? Um, and it is to a certain extent. But then if you're talking about how do you get out of that, that $3 or $4 million spot that you're talking about, I don't know how you do it other than with people. You have to have a team. And the key to the team is the processes. We all focus on the team. The processes have to be there, right? I'm working with a builder right now that um, he's been on his own for a couple years. He's really great at managing the project. Now that he has a project manager under him, he is struggling to replicate what he did with someone else, right? And it's like you have to lean more into the roles and the processes than you do the people. If your answer is finding that diamond in a rough, how are you going to keep them? How are you going to find more than one if you ever are lucky enough to find one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The processes are so key. The best builders, kind of to your point, they're great at building houses, and that's what leads to that initial success, but they're not great at relaying the information, or they don't hire to buy their time back. They hire to get rid of just the things they don't want to do, but necessarily aren't the biggest time savers for them that allow them to keep growing the business.
Yep. Yep. That makes sense.
So what systems did you put in place? I try to drill this into my guys. Like I've got a builder out in Salt Lake City right now. He's finally hiring an admin to do permits and bank draws and timesheets and payroll and all of these things. And I try to get them to document the process, record it if they have to, put it on Loom, put it on Zoom, put it on something so that it's repeatable, and then have the person doing that role continue to tweak that document so that when they leave or you have to bring in the next person, you just hand them the playbook. Is that what you've done in your business as well, or do you have some other tips there for how to start documenting?
Thankfully, I found the need for processes, and when I started down that path, I was all about learning how to do this thing, right? Not the process in itself, but how to make processes, how to, um, how was I going to figure out how to do this? And the biggest thing that has helped me keep sanity, I think, is realizing that there's no finish line to it. And that's been my perspective. I don't know if that's common, but getting a process like, okay, I'm going to process my business, and then I'm not going to do anything else. Like maybe there's examples of that out there, but it has definitely been an iterative process for me, and it's a lifestyle. That's the biggest thing that I've come away with. Is it's not a check mark that I'm going to get done. When I pour the slab, I move towards the framing. When I get the framing done, I move into rough ends, right? It's not a checkbox thing for me like that. It's a lifestyle of constantly documenting, constantly going back and adjusting. My favorite thing is, if we have a problem, did we follow the process, or if we did follow the process, we need to adjust the process, right? If we don't have a process there, big key to say, let's put that on a process list. I also think that I'm never going to run out of processes to build. The more developed business gets, the fewer, I guess, and the fewer big priority important ones. But I keep a list of things that, oh, hey, that needs some work. And then every so often in the year, I bring that list out. I prioritize what processes I need to focus on. I focus on those. When I get that batch done, I'll pull that list back out. So documenting them is really important. Like you said, different different people and in different roles at different times need to look at processes differently. So a fully developed process for me would be start with the video, and that's on Loom or whatever I want to record it on. giving that video to the person that I want to do it. And if they're a role that can accomplish this, I would like them to write the process out and then
Mhm.
document that in writing. When we're in the thick of it and we need to remember how exactly we do a change order in this certain project management, system, I need to bring that up on paper and be able to read it real quick. I don't want to have to watch a 12-minute video. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
we try to make it easy where the team could actually get the benefit. It's not as much, hey, you need to do it this way because we all said to do it this way. This is what's going to make it most efficient and easiest for you to produce the most. And then they have time, right? It gets their time back as well. Our model is really, really drilled into production. We have one salary based person, and she does all of our bookkeeping, all of our payroll, all of our bill pay, things like that. Everyone else is a contractor in themselves. They manage their schedule. They reach their own milestones and checkpoints. They get paid like that, the whole 9 yards, so that we can kind of keep some entrepreneurial ownership to whatever the role is.
Yeah. Nah, I think that's a really key point. When you were bringing up the problems, I just read a book and the name's escaping me right now, but they were talking about Toyota as a manufacturing facility. And when something goes down on the line and they say, well, we had to stop the line for 10 minutes, it cost us $10 million. And they keep saying, but why? But why? But why? Well, why did we have to stop the line? Well, because the parts were failing. Well, why were the parts failing? Well, because this machine wasn't working. Well, why wasn't the machine working? Because we didn't do the maintenance on it that it needed. So the problem started 12 layers back. And I think that can be applied to any business, certainly home building. Um, I'm curious, your model, I'm probably split 50-50 with private coaching clients, guys that have full on crews and they've got $800,000 a year in payroll that they're managing and trying to track hours, and guys it's them and their wife are the only employees and everything is subbed out. What made you choose to go? I love that entrepreneurial spirit of kind of giving them ownership. What's been maybe the drawback of that you didn't foresee when you chose that model?
Probably the self-management portion. Your processes are in place, and then when you give people a certain amount of freedom, you realize what processes are missing, right? So that you really need to dial in on the measurements so that people can have ownership, but also know where they are and where they stand. The limiting factor that I found as a custom builder, not being a production line builder, is a geographical area. You need to be able to see the projects. You need to be able to know the people that you're working with. The most successful custom home builds, the clients the happiest, it's the closest to what they wanted. It comes from a project manager that has a really long relationship history with the people that are working on that home. They're all subcontractors in our model. We don't have the huge payrolls. My my personal goal is to build the relationships with the project managers and then have the project managers be in total control of the people that they work with. I've had the biggest problem on quality and management when I've gotten too far in the way. Hey, I have a really great relationship with this tile guy, or I want you to use him. Okay. And then nothing's anybody's fault from that day on, right? I've got the tile guy calling me because he's my relationship. The project manager is saying, well, it's your tile guy, and no one, either side of the relationship, is trying to shuck responsibilities. It's just not how they do things and not how they can feel the most comfortable and run the most efficiently. So if I can build a model for that project manager to be successful, um, I see this in builders when they start. I'm sure you have a much diverse example of this, right? But the project managers when they start, or somebody that's going to go hang their own sign up, a builder when they start, I guess. They do it because they're good at building things and they're good at project management. And they're like, hey, I'm going to go out on my own. There's so much more, right? Can they get new business with new clients after referrals? Get to a certain size and that's it. Um, market to get those clients in. Can they bill pay on time, right? Most of your project managers that are working for a builder are not responsible for paying vendors or having the money in the right spots to be able to pay those vendors in a timely manner, things like that. There's a lot bigger portion of it. That's my sweet spot. I don't manage projects directly anymore. Obviously, I did when we started, and it was just a few of us. But my sweet spot is figuring out what the client's telling me that they want, matching them with a project manager that does that role, and then staying in the processes and the backside of kind of forecasting for our business. So I want that project manager to have a lot of ownership and a lot of professionalism for our brand or their brand. They can even set their own team brand up, kind of like a broker under Keller Williams would have their own team of realtors, right? We really like that model. Sometimes it can kind of be confusing for a client that just walks in that has never seen that, right? But it's a lot of ownership, a lot of professionalism, and then it a lot of the revenue goes their direction, right? Because they're handling a whole section of that business for us. So the brand stays at a higher level. We can kind of expand our geographical location to that project manager base because they're responsible for their own team members, and that's worked really well for us because we focus on relationship first.
So I want to back up a little bit for people that don't know what your model is, because I can hear home builders going, "Wait, what? They can do their own brand? What?"
Mm-hmm.
That just threw everybody for a loop. So fill us in on, because you've got a pretty unique model, which I love. Tell us what that looks like.
Yeah, Turnkey is our main brand, and that is the systems. There are certain things that, yes, you're a project manager and you've got control of kind of how you run the schedule as long as it's ran in this way, right? As long as it's documented in this way, as long as these reports are put in a certain time, which is all designed to help be more efficient managing the project. If you're a project manager and the budget's kind of just a thing that we talked about a long time ago, but we're not really keeping any measurements, and that seems like too much accountability, then we don't fit real well with those project managers. We have a very strict system as far as what you do have to check in on. That way, when I'm discussing our brand, I don't have to pick a project manager that matches exactly. I can pick a project manager that matches you personally, right? But I know a repeatable process that's going to happen if you're working together with us and we're working together with our clients. And so we have to be able to have a level of control over that. So the project managers are responsible for their own weekly updates, things like that, and how we interact and how the project management software is ran. But the main thing is that they have their own group of subcontractors, and I have different checkpoints that I go along the way. But we're not looking for one offs, right? We are looking for the project manager that's going to build multiple houses using this system, and so we're going to know what to expect by their trades and to make sure that we're at a quality level. This isn't a mass production kind of thing. It's just how to repeat the process of building a custom home like we would. Um, as far as being their own team, it's really when they decide they want someone underneath them, right? That project manager is kind of in control of his own revenue stream because as they produce, they get their portion of the revenue off of the top that's coming in. But it's based on production, so they have to produce. So once that project manager hits the amount of homes that they can physically go to, they would want to grow their business, but they don't want to add on all of the accounting side. They don't want to add on all the bill pay, the sales, all of that part. They're just looking to take on more work from our system. Then they can have managers underneath them, and that's kind of where the branding comes in. It's not everyone because some project managers are solely focused on that management, and they just want to work in the system on their own. But some are looking to build a brand. Some are looking to kind of step up and out of the system. Right? If they, we're not trying to breed dependency. We're trying to give you enough value that you want a long-term relationship with us. But as a builder got large enough, or as a project manager got large enough with their team, just like a broker in Keller Williams may go start their own brokerage, right? You can do that if that's what you're looking for, because we're not trying to handcuff anyone or keep someone here. It's kind of like having the client that doesn't want you to build for them. You don't really want that client either. You want to make sure you're a match. So we want to make sure our value proposition is something that have fish jumping into the boat.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a unique model. And I can completely see where it would be ideal for, the Joe builder that starts doing kitchens and baths and decks, and then he's doing additions, and then he's building custom homes, and doesn't necessarily want the business side of it. They just love going out there building and managing a project manager. underneath you, I could see would be very different than managing the accountant and talking with the lawyers and just doing all of the back end of the business. I mean, it just kind of keeps them in their sweet spot. So I could see why guys wouldn't want to leave.
Yeah, yeah, no, it does turn out like that. It turns out like, okay, well, if the reason to leave is you want your own brand, your own sign, your own building, your own business, let us support you as much as we can until you take that next step, right? Um, but for most, that's not it. For the most, if they're looking for more, they can manage more, right? And the system letting them grow like that and letting them control their own part of the job allows them to do that. We kind of look at it like the electrician does not work for us. They are a subcontractor. If the management is easier to explain and the system's built out, it works very well like that as well. You do have to get past the confusing part for the homeowner, right? A confused mind doesn't act. You don't want to confuse your homeowner where they're not really the builder or they're not. We are absolutely the builder. We are the builder of record. This is a local thing. It's geographical centered around Huntsville, Texas. This is not a nationwide program. So it allows me to still be available if any of the homeowners call and need to talk to me as the owner of Turnkey, for example. I have time to discuss anything that they are looking for, handle any problem, be personal, and have that personal touch, because I can spend my time doing that because I'm not doing the day-to-day operations when things are going really well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a unique model, and I can just see how everybody wins in that scenario. Everybody's happier, right? So
Yeah, including the homeowner, because the home building is the Wild West, right? Like, you know that.
oh yeah,
There's not, I mean, and we're in Texas, there's no license to be a home builder or anything. Like, you want to be a home builder, say you're a home builder, find you a group of subcontractors and get you a job, right? So homeowners, unless they're really educated in the industry, which is not common, they really don't know what they're getting into when they hire that one guy with tools in the back of his truck and a shoebox full of receipts. They really don't know the jeopardy. And it's very few times is it the quality of construction, right? The guy knows what he's doing. He's been building houses forever. That's why he's there, right? When is the cash flow crunch going to get him? When is an illness, right? I have a business partner that has had a pretty serious illness for the last 2 years. He was a builder before we got together. I think back to, without the team, what happens to that 10-month project that you're in month two of, and you're one guy, something happens. But I also understand that big box stores don't fit everyone when it comes to custom home building as well. So there's an army of small business builders out there that are really, really great at what they do. And if we can fill in that gap of things that we have learned how to do well with processes that they don't all do great or want to do great, then it's an amazing partnership for the homeowner. And there's a lot of flexibility with the team that size.
yeah, for sure. Before we get too far along, how can people find you? Certainly if they're local, but how can people get a hold of you, have a conversation with you, discuss this model? I know eventually you want to make it bigger. So
Yeah.
talk to me about that.
Yeah. Right now, everything goes to our website. So builtbyturnkey.com, BUILTBYTURNKEY. That's where is the easiest way to get a hold of us, because it comes to a process, right? Facebook messages, I'm going to go out there and say I'm ashamed of it, but we don't respond too well on Facebook or things like that. We really do focus on the website as a main point of contact.
Awesome. Well, we'll put all that in the show notes for everybody too. Um, so I stole this next thing from Stephen G. I always give him credit, but the last guest left you a question, and you get to leave the next guest a question. And it's been crazy to me. Like, I talk with so many different people of so many different walks of life, but that the questions are always kind of apropos. Um, so before I ask you your question, what question would you like to leave for the next guest that comes on?
Yeah, man, I love this. I've never seen this, but I was listening to a few of your shows. I was like, man, that's a really cool concept. And I hope I didn't get too deep with my question, but My question is, what's your favorite way to share what you do in business with your family?
I love it. What's your favorite way to share what you do in business with your family? Awesome.
Like I like to build things. I love building like tree houses, clubhouses, things like that with my kid. I love spreadsheets and organizing. So our little league baseball team and things, I've got spreadsheet for every game, right? So it's just how do you share what you do in your business with your family?
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it. All right. So here is your question. What is a secret project that you want to work on, but you haven't told anyone about?
Oh man. Um I'm gonna use the term. I'm gonna look at the term secret as in we're not really putting it out there to the world. And I did not become a home builder because I was looking to become a home builder. I was building for myself. I was mainly building a rental portfolio, and then other people wanted us to do that. So um, I really have a sweet spot for, or a soft spot, I guess, for like the person that wants to build their own home. And if I would have had some insight into processes in a digestible way, I could have, no matter what it costs, it would have been worth it, right? Because a lot of the lessons when building houses, you learn the hard way. It's expensive. You're talking about lots of zeros when you're building a house. So a secret project is I would like to put together, we were kind of discussing builders, and I know you coach builders. If I could put together a program to help homeowners directly manage their house, that's a secret project that I'm kind of working on the background. If not that no one knows about it, but a few know about it. It's you're not going to find it on our website, right?
Awesome. Yeah, we were talking about that, last time we chatted, and I think I still don't think they would ever save any money, but there's that pride of, I built that, I built our
Absolutely.
house, that's worth a lot, right? So I'm going to ask one last question. This is just my own personal thing, but what does success mean to you?
It's always all the success that I've gone after. Every time I've looked at success as an example and been trying to go after it because I can't remember a time that I wasn't. It's always been to control my time. I really appreciate the fact that I can coach my son's little league team, and it's not just this haphazard thing that we're doing. Right, we are really focused on those boys, and that's the best way we've found to give back to the community. We've given money to all kinds of things. Giving back to the community in that way has by and large had the largest impact. And we can't do that if we don't have time. That's the biggest thing. It's not that dads don't want to do that. It's I see that they don't have the time. I'm on the board as well. You'll get emails like, well, I'm not working right now. Now I have time. Right. It's like, well, if you're not working, that's the last thing you have is time. You know what I mean? Because it's just one of many resources that you have to juggle. And so success to me, man, is being in control of your time. And it doesn't mean working less. I would not say that I work less hours than most folk. I just put them in the order that fits my wife and makes my family the happiest.
Yeah, man after my own heart. I should write a book about that.
Yeah, yeah, it's on order, man. I'm waiting on it to get here.
I tell people that all the time. There's not, people are after these zeros and these numbers, and I'm guessing, much like me, I could have an extra $100 million in the bank, but I certainly wouldn't be any happier. And there's a level of, once basic needs are satisfied, and once you know that you're relatively well taken care of, just really doesn't matter. You want to be able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want. And that could be at $100,000 or $100 million. It's different for
Not
everybody.
to mention, could you really increase that if you weren't where you were, right? Like if you weren't in the mindset that you are and have the peace that you have, right? So when we're trying after those zeros and we can't get them, it's because all the rest of that stuff's not put together right. And then when we get the rest of that stuff put together right, then now we know how to do it. Yeah, we could go make more if we gave up on that stuff, but then it would be short-term gain because we couldn't do it forever because that for me that peace has to be there. If there's any disruption in peace, that goes to the top of my priority list. I will call the person immediately to fix whatever is messing that piece up. I'm very protective of peace. And I got that from one of my best friends, super successful guy. And we bounce a lot off of each other. And one day he was saying, he was going after success or going after this or that. And when he dialed it down to peace, protecting his peace, everything changed. And it has changed for me since that day.
Yeah. Well, brother, I think we can leave it right there. I can't think of a better way to end the show.
Well, man,
Jeremy,
thanks for
thanks so
having me.
much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was great. I appreciate it.
All right, flip flop fam. Until the next time, we will catch you on the flip side. Cheers. Easy breezy, dude.
You bet, man. I love your show. It's really cool flow and it doesn't last 3 hours. It's hard to listen to Joe Rogan sometimes.
Right. Did you not to go political, but did you listen to the Trump interview?
I'm an hour in. I
You
don't
did.
drive a lot,
You talk
but
about
I'm an hour.
the weave with
Yeah,
Trump, and it's
yeah,
just
that's
like,
about
bro,
where
get
I'm
back to
in.
the question.
He said, "Hey, he said we was getting wide on this one, brother. Let's bring it back in."
It takes a skilled interviewer to keep getting them back into what the original question was, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Uh,
I started a podcast called Begin to Build and then learned how hard it was. It's much more fun to be a guest. And
yeah,
at one time I was really stressing out over it and then decided, man, it's gonna be I'll leave it up. It's there. If someone gets benefit out of it, great. If I add another episode in 2 weeks or in 2 months or in 2 years, well, who cares, right? The goal
yeah.
is not the podcast to be successful. So, but I really respect what you do with keeping this amount of episodes, this much regular, content. Like it's,
We're almost at 100, man.
I know it. I know it. I saw that. That's that big milestone.
I actually
But
had the same. So it was one of my buddies. His name's Nick Steiner, and he owns Back to Basics Golf. He's down in Australia now, but we went to school together, and he was my first episode. And he said, at the end of that episode, he said, "I'll see you on episode 100." And I don't think he thought I would make it, right? And so I
yeah,
asked him that in the first part of episode 100. I'm like, "So did you say that because you were like wishing me well, or you didn't think I would make it to 100?"
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
we have a guy that we rodeoed with. You travel in a little group, right? Like three or four guys in a hauling group, and um, man, this guy, his dad called him and asked him, hey, call me back, make sure the phone's working, and then answered the phone like he didn't know who he was talking about. So he changed his voice up a little bit, and his dad just went with it. So he kind of used that voice to prank call for a little while, but he was discussing with us, hey man, the social media, that's how we're going to sell things, blah, 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 blah. And he started a few little different deals, but then he started one called Dale Brisby. And he was just this character that was that prank name that he came up with on the spot like that, right? And man, now he's got a Netflix show called How to Be a Cowboy with Dale Brisby. He's got Rodeo Time Media. He's got the Rodeo Time podcast. They mainly sell apparel is where the income, that's where the revenue comes from is apparel, but big media brand. And same thing, like I'll bounce things off of him and he's like, hey, stop going and buying cameras and all that stuff, just get your phone out. You have a $20,000 camera in your pocket, do the work. Everybody goes and buys all the stuff to get away from doing the actual work, and
that's
it
it, man.
is work, man. It's hard. I've not been able to stay consistent with content, something I struggle with, but
I have like half a team behind me that does it just to put out what little we put out. I got a full-time VA and a marketing girl, and the whole deal. I mean, it's a
yeah,
lot,
it's a
but
lot, but it seems like it's worth it, you know?
yeah. But to your point though, like just get out the camera, do the work. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I should call more. I would get these leads that come in. I don't call them all. Like it's
Well,
just the basics.
yeah. Yeah. Like the random introduction from Stacy, it's like that's there's value there, I believe. You know what I mean? But it's just like how many of those can you actually field?
Right. Exactly right. To protect your peace.
To protect your peace, right? Yeah. I'm not
All
skipping a
right.
little league game for you, man. But
Well, dude, thanks again.